Hi, my name's Dee, your Professor of Woo Woo, and welcome to your special readings for not so much for the eclipse, we're out of the eclipse window now, but for integrating the eclipse energies. We've just had two very potent eclipses. I mean, all eclipses are supposed to be potent, aren't they? But the partial solar eclipse that was in Taurus gave us a great sense of promise. Not so much here's what you could have won, but here's what you can win. Whereas the Scorpio total lunar eclipse is more, and here's what you need to deal with while you're aiming for what you can win. Here's the crap you need to get out of the way. Here's the obstacles you have to overcome. Here's the things you have to let go of. Now, these eclipses, they're not just a 2-week length. As if you look at Dorotheus, he says for a solar eclipse, for each hour of the eclipse, you can assume that chart has power for a year. He's probably not phrased it like that, but it was a 4-hour long eclipse. This was really, really potent. This was very much awakening our minds or our souls or what have you into what we can achieve. Now, again, according to Dorotheus, an hour of a lunar eclipse is a month. I don't know how long the lunar eclipse lasted. I've looked it up a bit and I've forgotten already. I'm not sure I was even successful in finding how long it lasted. So comment down below. But as ever, I apologise that I have not been doing regular monthly readings. We've had some very strong astrology this year, and I have very much been, I'm not going to say been victim to it, because the majority of it has all been good. But I have been buffeted by it or kept busy by it, between day job and out of work commitments as well. It's not left me a huge amount of time for filming. And of course, quick plug, I am working on my course to present through later this year through Bloodstone Studios about angels and demons in the chart and how they can be used for magical purposes and for interpretive purposes as well. But anyway, there is a timestamp down below for if you want to just fast forward past the waffle. But before you do, please listen to this once, because I'm going to say, watch your sun, your moon, and your rising if you know them all. If you've only got time for one, watch your rising. But your sun will be of a great help considering we're talking about eclipses. Ask a question prior to the reading. You'll have enough warning when I stop waffling. But take a moment, think about all of the questions or issues that surround you at the moment, and ask a question. But be aware of all of those questions, because the cards will answer what they please and not necessarily what you or I think is the most important one. But focus on one of the questions because it gives energy to the process. And the more, energy in, energy out. So obviously all that good YouTube stuff, like, share, subscribe if you like it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to say. Oh yes, the other thing that kept me away from the readings was studying my astrology and learning the astrology, which, still working on that. Got distracted by angels and demons, so still working on my basic astrology. But as you can see from my bi-weekly videos with David, I'm getting there. Another 6 years, I'll be fine. Can't think of anything else. Please do comment down below if you've already had an effect from these eclipses. And so I will bring the readings up. So here's your timestamp, and we'll shoot. So it's the same intro for all of them. Next time you watch this, fast forward through it and just go to the timestamp if you watch your more than one reading. All right, see you in a moment. Okay, Capricorn, just like Cancer, these eclipses occurred in your 5th and 11th houses. So the house of children and fun and pleasure, and The 11th house being the house of friends, associations, and if I remember correctly, isn't that also the house where wishes can be granted? Now, there's, I mentioned in the previous reading for Sagittarius, the Saturn-Uranus square that's still going on this year. And it really is speaking quite loudly here. And I'll show you my thinking. So we started with the Emperor. So there's, I would say there's an element of stubbornness there. There's responsibility. There's doing the right thing and having the strength to do it against being crossed by the Page of Coins. That's a new beginning that has been worked towards. It's clarified here by the Seven of Pentacles. Is actually in your way. And what Spirit is bringing in for you is the Six of Cups, nostalgia, memories. Sixes are always quite contentment, so that there's some contentment coming in, but it's familiar contentment. And you've got the Six of Cups that you are seeding in the final outcome. So with out of the Oracle cards, we have change and development being symbolized here by the Goetic spirit Gaap. Balancing act. This is real world stuff with Malkut, the kingdom. The one thing, and it's my own mind that's put this song there, but I'm thinking of that sort of pop anthem, Bring It Back. And this is, it's almost like you are resisting some form of change or some particular aspects of a change. Although, since this change has already had a lot of work being put into it, as seen by the Seven of Pentacles, even if it may be a barren harvest, there's, I feel like there's, it's not so much, no, we need to do things a new way. There's more a feel of, no, hang on a minute. This new way that we're doing things, that we might have been doing for 5 years, mind. Like I said, there's a lot of work gone into this new way. It's not working. It's not right. We have lost this value or lost that value, and we need to bring those back. So there is change and development here. There's a balancing of everybody's concerns. But you feel guided to work with someone to say, you know how things used to be? Well, there's a few elements of that we need to reintroduce. There's a few elements that we need to not so much go back to basics, but return qualities of decency and respect where, for instance, if we're talking about business systems and how services deliver to their customers, the system and the requirements of the system itself can, frequently does in today's society, override the basic need for respect. Respect, yes, of the service provider, but also respect of the customer. So that element of goodwill and respect may need to be reintroduced to some process, which, I'm sorry, I don't care what you think. I'm all for the new. But respect and goodwill are not new concepts. They've been around for a long, long time, you know. So there's wanting to reintroduce aspects of the way things were. Oh God, I've got that song going on in my head now. Is not necessarily a bad thing. You might be, to a certain extent, alone in your efforts to start off with, but it serves as a wonderful springboard. And this Nine of Coins here we've got in the future, you haven't been able to do this before because you've been too worried about protecting the status quo, or rather, not the status quo, that's wrong. You've been too worried about protecting what is yours, and therefore sticking with that status quo has been in your interest. But I believe it's got to the point here where you're just going, no, we have to return back to the way we did this, or we have to return to the guiding values of how we used to do it. So, like I say, you can easily use this in a business economic context of, I'm sorry, what's more important, the dollar or the customer? Now, you don't get the dollar without the customer, therefore the customer has to be the most important, for example. But I think you can relate that to any situation you care to mention, so this could be within a social circle, this could be the way that you have fun, this could be to do with your home and to do with your partnerships, it could be any number of things, but there's an element of now is the time to strike while the iron is hot in small incremental moves. So it's not like you are trying to get it all done all at once, because you're in a time of a creative process about how to reintroduce these various factors. But you are nonetheless constrained. The emperor has to abide by the laws of his own empire, because if he wants everybody else to abide by his own laws, he has to abide by his own laws. There's been this urge to defend and protect, and some of these changes will hurt. I'm not saying you'll be throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but returning some of this old stuff, it's necessary. It hurts, but there's a harsh truth. King of Swords here with the Three of Swords, what you've got to work with. There's harsh truths that are obvious that these changes need to be made. And yep, going to be painful making them. But you have control over that process. You may be restricted on how fast you can go, but you are going to make slow progress. So you can hear that two ways. You're going to make slow progress. So it's not going to, this is a long-term thing. So I think you'll probably get all 4 years of Dorotheus's measurement for the eclipse for that reason. But you're going to make slow progress. You are going to make the progress. You are going to get a wonderful, even though it's a bit of a balancing act, to make sure. So you're trying to reinvigorate and strengthen something that already exists. You're not creating a new thing. You're creating a new way around a thing that's already here. It's like this Fool card. I always think that this new beginning that this Fool card represents, it's not your new beginning. You are instituting this new beginning for others with your authority as the Emperor here in the middle of the deck. You're fine. You're stable. You're secure. You're undergoing your own rebirth as this happens. Again, another reason not to rush, although I will say here with the Six of Cups and the Knight of Wands, that's an interesting mix that Spirit's bringing in. So you're getting this nostalgia and contentment, but you're getting it in really fast. So I think what this is saying, because act fast now, slow progress, is that if you do not start making that change now, then it's not going to happen. Because if you are all tied up, as this card says, and like I say, it's the constrictions that I've mentioned already talk about, if you don't start unpicking them now, you're not going to get enough time to unpick all the knots that are holding you back, to disentangle yourself from everything that is keeping you bound to something. Because it's not just you. That emperor here is telling me that there is. I mean, to say there's a world view on this is over egging the pudding. You're only doing it over your environment, whatever that means. So that could be within the home, that could be within your office, that could be within an entire multinational company that you're on the board of, or close to the board of. So it's all scales of reference here, whatever your environment is. But there's joy in doing this. There's a satisfaction that is gained. Both the Fool and the Nine of Coins here, they're happy cards. That this Fool, especially in this deck, this Fool is almost woo, as he jumps off the cliff. And look at this guy in the Nine of Coins. I'm not sure which god he is because I'm still learning this deck. So no, that's the wrong booklet. Nine of Coins. Let's have a look who the Nine of Coins is, because that might give us a little extra. It's about the legend of the watermelon from Vietnam. Hard work and patience have resulted in a successful harvest. So there's a good sign, isn't it? And now even the emperor enjoys Mayatiem's watermelons. The road was long and hard, which we've already discussed here, but the rewards were worth the effort. So in that particular Nine of Coins, absolutely nothing about being solitary or anything of that. There is that sense of bringing in a good harvest, bringing in bringing in old values that are just as relevant now as what they were when they were last used. But I do get the impression that because the processes that are around you, they're a bit dusty. They've been locked into a cupboard for a while, a few cobwebs. They need dusting off, polishing up, and putting back out. But one at a time. And you can do this creatively. The road is long and hard, so slow progress, but it leads towards contentment. It gives effective change with this Malkuth card from the Angelarium here. So have I got everything out of it? Yes, I've not discussed. Yeah, because you're worried about making these efforts that it threatens everything. It threatens the home life, it threatens the finances, it threatens the job. And it's like, do you really want to face the pain of the knowledge, the realization of when you hadn't adhered to these values you want to reintroduce? Because this is why you want to reintroduce them. You've been put in a position where the values that you've held sacred have been abandoned, and because they've been abandoned all around you, you've abandoned them as well, and you're feeling quite pants about that. Now bear in mind, that sort of realization, that sort of being confronted with the harsh truths, as this King of Swords here I was saying was doing, that's probably going to happen one way or another. So you might as well take control of that process. You be the one that's slowly pulling the cards out. You be the one that, I like this particular Three of Swords because I see her not as, I don't know who she is actually. Let's have a look. I don't see her as stabbing herself necessarily. You watch the card, disagree with me. But as she's pulling swords out, she is controlling that process. this sort of agrees with what I was saying and sort of lies in the face with it, of it. The crane wife asks her husband for privacy, but he spies on her, only to discover she was hurting herself to help him. His spying was treacherous, but so was her inability to trust him with her secret. Um, I'm still going to go with my definition of that card, but it also makes me think that maybe there's some betrayal that you may have committed. And I'm not saying that you've done it with all maliciousness, you're not dick dastardly in the corner trying to screw everybody over, but because of circumstance, because of the way things were, because of the systems around you, you've ended up screwing somebody over, and you don't think that's right. And you think that that reintroduction of older values will prevent that from happening again. And you are correct. Now, that person who got screwed over, they would have every right to turn around and say you're being a hypocrite, because you didn't hold those values then. Why should you hold them now? And it is up to you to turn around and say, it's because of what I did to you that I am trying to do better. Or it is because what the company made me do to you that I am trying to do better and that I am trying to change things. So that's on you. And saying that's a good thing, because you get a lot of support by doing that. There's we have that Knight of Wands again, so there's other people cheering you on here. So I feel like, or certainly egging you on, but I think it's cheering you on and so, giving you momentum to move forward. King of Cups, in that they're helping you realize that this is the right thing to do, whatever this thing is. That's everything that I can see. So let's just have one angel out of the Angel Tarot. Okay. Oh, we've got quite a few here. So 5 of Wands and Hierophant. As you can see, Hierophant is just sticking up Haziel. So I'm going to go with both. Oh, Gabriel hidden. Gabriel representing the moon. Divine revelation reveals messages, has the power to destroy. It's quite interesting because we forget that Gabriel can be quite a violent angel. But it's this 5 of Wands and the Hierophant. The Hierophant here with Haziel, the merciful god, is talking about forgiveness, but it's also talking about tradition and old systems. And the 5 of Wands is talking about the debate generated by your actions here. Politics and ambition wins judgments and protects all those who seek the truth. And I think the truth that you are seeking here, it's not that you're trying to unravel what actually happened or the whys and the wherefores. I think you're looking for that's what I can call the reading, truth in action. You are looking to find that spiritual truth of we are all one and we should care for one another in the actions that the systems and processes around you dictate. So you are trying to return that truth to the motives of the systems and actions, systems and processes around you. Yeah, if I say any more, I'm just going to be repeating myself. It's perfect for you, isn't it, Capricorn? Let's do things the way it used to be. But there's a veracity or a validity in that statement where certain values have been lost or abandoned. Of course, I'm just someone reading cards on YouTube. Do not necessarily... The insight is not in my words. The insight is in your emotional and sensual reaction to my words. That's where you get the benefit from a YouTube reading, not from what I say, but your reactions to what I say. So having said that, I do think you're going out and doing the good work, but just be aware it's going to take time. You're going to use all 4 years worth of this eclipse energy for this Capricorn. But yeah, good luck with it. Obviously, bringing back to the topic of YouTube, do the whole like, share, subscribe thing because it really does help the channel. Yeah, that's it. Go and watch your Moon and Rising. Don't forget, there's a timestamp to get past all my introductory blather next time. Cheers.